Univo, and as you can see, Israel right now is the one of the biggest markets in Israel in the world. And I want to make a quick overview about what we are doing in Israel now. Actually, the world is big, and the global medical cannabis markets is high and fluid, and all the times and other countries go inside to the field. And Israel is one of the biggest markets in the world. So actually, we became like that because Israel is one of the first country that start treat patient with cannabis. And it was in 1996, parallel to California. Those both countries started to treat patient in 1996, and the rest of the world started to do this in 2013. About the Israel medical cannabis import and export in 2020, Israel is one of the biggest importers in Israel in the world. In January 2021, commercial import as a raw material actually gets to Israel, and the imports increased in the last 6 months, approximately between 1 to 1.5 tons per month. It's huge. It's like 18 tons per year. It's one of the biggest markets in the world. We are getting that because we are treating patients with the medical cannabis. It's not a recreational, and it's really important because this cannabis is actually grow, not like a weed or a supplement. It's grow like a medicine in the high standards of the GAP standards, and it's actually manufactured in a GMP standard. Those standards are highly recommended, so you can actually say it's a medicine. Okay, this is the first thing. In Germany, the largest medical cannabis markets after Israel, and it's one of the biggest in Europe because Germany is similar to Israel, and from grow you have to go to manufacturing, and you have to sell it in a pharmacy store under prescription. So it's actually similar to Israel. They actually make a copy paste to the Israeli supply chain, and they go like this in every step in the step like Israel. This is very, very important. This is why it's so big right now. Not like Israel, because it's only right now something between 8 tons, and Israel is something between 30 tons in 2020. Require the supply products to the market. Doctors prescribe the medicine according to the brand. Best know have maximum effects. For now, Bedrocan products are biggest exports in Europe, in the EU markets, after the GW Pharmaceuticals. GW Pharmaceuticals actually not based on the plant, they're based on the molecular, on the CBD molecular. This is what different between Bedrocan and GW. Actually, right now, Germany required oils and flowers. Bedrocan main supplier with Aurora and Tilray in Germany, and the registrations of the products are needed. Wait a minute, let's do it like this. So, okay, and sorry, like this, so I can see the chat. The UK, actually, Univo just announced last week that we make a big commercial agreement with UK supplier. So the UK medical cannabis market is growing, but at slow rate. At the moment, we are wishing the clients begin build at a faster rate than a patient are being prescribed the license. It's really important because the demand became from the people. It's not became from the doctors, because the doctors is really getting hard and difficult to write down a prescription to medical cannabis. So like in Israel, the demand come from the patients. They want to get a treatment with the cannabis. So this is what make the government to actually listen to the patient and allow them to get treatment with cannabis, with medical cannabis. Bedrocan main supply to the UK, Aurora and Tilray supplying minimal amounts. 200 patients in all UK, oils and flowers. Registration of products needed. Registration of product needed, it means that me as a main supplier in Israel, I have to register my product in England as well. Holland market. OMC, the local Ministry of Health, controls the import and export of medical cannabis from Holland. OMC approved Bedrocan as the main and only producer, cultivator, and distributor for medical cannabis. Import and export Bedrocan products across the EU. No import approved without OMC approval. To today, no commercial import, to my knowledge, has occurred. Look, Univo is one of the only companies that export from Israel to Netherlands. We export it to external lab, to EU GMP lab, but we are the only company that get the export license to the Netherlands. Netherlands are not allowed to import, only to export. So, which means that Bedrocan is actually like a government company that needs to go through all the regulation, but the country is controlled. This actually, I don't know if the license or the control the company themselves, but they are actually sit down on the barrier of the export and import from Netherlands. The Netherlands is a big market. So actually, this is one of the biggest markets, but they're not allowed to import, sorry. Italy. Who controls the medical cannabis in Italy is the army. Import and export control by the Ministry of Defense. No import approval based on Bedrocan through the approval Holland OMC, both governments work jointly. EU GMP and GACP license approved. For now, imports are approved. So, actually, what we can see here is every government has its own regulation, and every government has its own rules. And we are, as one of the biggest producers in Israel, need to actually to make the changes in the products and in the process to regard every regulation that we aiming through. If we want to aim to the Poland market, we need to produce regarding to the Poland market. If we aim to the UK market, we need to produce regarding to the UK market. So the regulation and the Ministry of Health in the local importer can distribute our product. This is really important this is so, I don't know how to say it. It's very flexible. So we need to know what are the requirements of the regulation, the local regulations. So we need to follow those leads. And this is very difficult. Poland is a small market, growing slow, potential 300 patients, EU GMP, GCP required, regulations of products needed, MGCP Pharma only currently suppliers in Poland, and Aurora Cannabis as well. Brazil is actually one of the biggest markets for oils, but the oils in Brazil, it's difficult to go through because it's still EU GMP and it's still high recommended, and it's very difficult to go through the Brazilian regulation. They are not similar to the UK and they're not similar to the United States. So it's a big market, but the regulation there it's difficult to go through. You need to know what is the main thing that the local regulator the Brazilian regulator wants as be on the products, so you can export to Brazil. EU GMP and GACP or the PIC standards are required there. Stability tests for 6 to 18 months, so you can produce your products with expired date for something like 12 months. This is high recommended. Potential 1 million patients. 1 million patient, it's a lot. GW Pharmaceuticals only suppliers in the market right now in Brazil. Let's talk about the Israel market. The Israel market is one of the biggest markets in Europe. In 2020, there was 80,000 patients. It's something like 720 million shekels. It's a lot. In 2021, the estimators are talking about 150,000 patients. And maybe in 2022, we're going to be 200 patients. It's huge. European medical cannabis market in Germany and Italy compare to the Israeli market. You can see the volumes and the millions of euro that go through those markets in Italy and in Germany, and you can see that Israel is still going to be one of the biggest player. Of course, every regulation has his own time. So those regulations are in their times are different. We learned that the airport and export cannabis is finished products. We can do it registered as a local products. Who controls the market? The local government. This is really important. It's not like in high tech. The high tech actually don't have a regulator, and in the cannabis there is. Every Ministry of Health controls its own market, and they want it to be like this. The standards and the bilateral agreement like the ACA between Israel and the UK are still approved, but people are looking at the best products, and the best products is when you know how to grow it, and if you are with full suppliers, so the market can be marketable. If it's one supplier, so you control the whole supply chain, and you control the quality, and the patient cannot choose. In Israel, we are one of the biggest market. There is a lot of suppliers. There is a lot of farms. There is something like between 30 farms right now in Israel, and there is a lot of suppliers. So there is a competitors. There is a lot of competitors. What makes the quality so good? Thank you very much. If you have questions, I can look for it now. If you don't have any questions, so actually on stage.
Thank you so much, Colin, for your presentation. Thank you, Colin, for your presentation. I hope that it creates a very much better.
I can't hear you, Musin.